Yo, my bench is free. My bench now. This is my bench. Wah, 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 wah. Full screen. Right, so this is a video I wanted to watch. I'm gonna chill for a bit, but we'll follow your free prog. Have fun, server. Thank you. But yeah, this is a video I wanted to start. For those who do not know Edrim streams. It's not actually a hand, it's a mechanized puppet that he is set up. He's very charming, honestly. They are very charming, and I do recommend checking out their stream. They're not live right now, but they're really fun. They're very charming, and I do recommend checking out their stream. They're lovely. But they made a video specifically explaining the development of spaghetti code, or not like explaining the spaghetti code, but essentially explaining the nuance around it. And that is something I believe is like a very important conversation. And at least I started watching the video and he kind of explained it in a he started explaining it in a very nice way.
Hey everyone, Edrim here, and I just want to do another quick little, somewhat ranty video about...
Can we consider him a VTuber? Now that I think about it, is Elmo a VTuber? Is the Cookie Monster a VTuber? I think we can, right? We could consider him a VTuber. Is he one of my own?
something that I see pop up a lot in Final Fantasy XIV, and that's talk about spaghetti code, right? I see it a lot. It's kind of done as a way that the community is like, oh, they can't do this spaghetti code, this kind of thing now.
It's not just that. A lot of people will use that as an excuse for their shit personality or shit performance. Oh, server text. Oh, you know, spaghetti code, indie company. Haha. That's why I died to a tank buster and followed by 2 autos.
And I kind of wanted to go in and explain a little bit about spaghetti code, because I think people without coding knowledge kind of don't understand it, or they kind of think of it as an excuse for things. And people also kind of think of it as like an FF14 spaghetti specific problem. It's like, it's not actually. Every code base in existence will have spaghetti code.
Spaghetti code was a very widely used term as well during the Cyberpunk launch. It was very buggy. Spaghetti code came up then as well. A lot of fucking games had spaghetti code. Assassin's Creed Unity, when it came out, some people referred to some of the performance there as spaghetti code. Spaghetti code has been around for a while.
To some degree. Some more than others. This week I introduced some spaghetti code into my project for reasons. And I kind of want to explain like why that might happen and how that can affect development, and also if that's affecting development in 14. Right? So I kind of want to explain this and educate people so they have an understanding of what spaghetti code is.
I wish more devs would do this. Like, we have whole communities of developers, like developer names in the community. Because like even last year we had the whole plugin drama over the reshade. Last year or the year before that, I don't remember. But like, developers are around. Programmers, developers, people who know this shit. People who specifically talk about this. But I wish they would make videos. Like, it used to be Ariza. Ariza used to be like a high writer who worked as a software engineer at Riot. I don't know what she does these days. I miss her. She used to make some videos explaining some of the functionality of add-ons. But these days I wish like more people like this would just come out and kind of put a bit more information out, so people wouldn't just specifically just say add-on bad, add-on probably gonna explode computer.
But to start off with, I want to have a little example. And this is going to have nothing to do with coding, right? Because it's just easier to explain these concepts with something that people understand rather than talk about code. Let's imagine that you are an engineer. Coding is engineering to some people. let's imagine you're an engineer and you've been tasked with building a bridge, right? You have a project, government or some kind of group wants to build a road bridge over a river. Okay? So, what do? In the beginning, you collect the requirements. You figure out, like, okay, how wide is the river? What's the soil like? How far do we have to, dig down the foundations of the bridge? How windy is it going to be? Because that'll affect how strong.
I just realized I've been muted this entire time, motherfucker. Essentially, what he is talking about, it makes sense. It is very important to keep in mind the fact that they were expecting specific amount of traffic to the game, the expectations how much people would be playing this game. Because believe it or not, despite the doom talking a lot of players do these days, the amount of players is way above expectations of what they expected to be populating this game about 10 years ago, when even Realm Reborn came out, like in 2011. Like, this code is from 2011. It's not easy to expand on expectations based over 10 years ago and still expect it to grow soon after. Like, the expectations was essentially based kind of on Final Fantasy 11, because they were playing the MMO there. That was the other flagship MMO title in the Final Fantasy series. But it wasn't as active as 14 would be on launch, and let alone how it is today. So it is very important to remember what expectations would be or were for this game before.
We need to build the bridge. All these things, and then you design a cool bridge, right? Whoa. And it's great. You deliver it on time. It's strong, but also it's affordable. You've made everything all great. And if it ended there, that would be perfect. But engineering projects, quite often, a bit like software projects, will have changed requirements. Sometimes this happens halfway through building it. Sometimes it'll happen down the line, right? So let's imagine that same group comes back to you and they say, oh man, we love that bridge. It's so good. In fact, so many people are using it now. Can we make this a 2-lane bridge? And you're like, oh, okay. Let's have a look at how to do that, right? So, okay, we built the foundations, assuming it would support 1 lane either way. How much work is it to upgrade those foundations to get it to support heavier weights?
Like your mom. I'm kidding. It's just you. You're fat enough.
Right? How well can we retrofit these things in? And you have to do a lot of work, and it's still cheaper than destroying the bridge and building a new one, right? But you're doing a lot of weird things now, and your design doesn't quite make sense. It works, but it's not optimal. If you were going to build a 2-lane bridge from the beginning, you would design it differently to how you've done it, essentially. And then developers come back like a few years later and like, oh man, we love this, we love this. Hey, can we get a bike path? And you're like, okay, maybe that's not too much work, so let's build a little bike path on either side. Cool.
The point he's driving here is that it's like, once you start trying to shift beyond expectations and you go a lot further, like miles further from the expectations, the result is never going to be good. Like, for example, even in film, this is like something I can explain from my own experience. Even in film, every shot is planned, the angle, etc. Even potentially shots that wouldn't make into the movie. Like, everything is planned in advance. But, God forbid anything fucking happens. Gotta get the set again. Gotta rent out the cameras if you don't have ownership of their fucking expensive 12K cameras. Gotta get all the actors scheduled to fly over for filming. Contract or no contract. God forbid they have a contract for another movie already. Like a good example for anyone who remembers, um, Henry Cavill filmed Batman vs Superman, and after that he was supposed to go film that Mission Impossible movie. He contractually had to have a mustache for Mission Impossible. After Batman Super versus Superman finished filming, yada yada yada, post production, they had to reshoot something. They had to reshoot something. So Henry Cavill came in, he did his lines, but now there is a shot of him doing this like interview with a kid, and his mouth looks funny because they had to CG out the mustache. He looks very fucking awkward. Or the very old Fantastic Four movie. They had to reshoot a lot of fucking scenes. I'm trying to remember which one it was. Was it the one where Doctor Doom looked like a melted trash bag, or the other one? Either or. I remember that they had to do reshoots a while after, right? The actress that did Susan Storm, she already shaved all her head for another filming. So, a good 20 minutes of the Fantastic Four movie, she was wearing a wig. And it looked different. It looked different. It literally stood out. The color was different from the rest of the movie. It looked so weird. It looks so awkward. So it's like, once you start shifting beyond the expectations, but the problems are gonna start. Same with 14. It's like they were expecting certain expansions, certain additions to the game, but they weren't expecting it to be still this lively more than 10 years later. They weren't expecting World of Warcraft level of activity in this game.
We'll do that. That's not too much work. We don't actually have to change anything with the foundations, but we do have to widen the whole thing. Like, okay, we do have to now take more consideration like the wind, because the bridge is getting wider and so on. Right? And then this continues and continues, and eventually you end up with a mess that is technically working. Everything works. It's a bridge. It works. People can use it. However, to upgrade it further in the future is going to start to become either incredibly costly, incredibly time-consuming, or just straight up impossible. And at that point, you go, all right, well, we just need to destroy the bridge. We just need to destroy it and build a new one.
I did talk about this before. Because of the whole conversation with the server ticks, etc., it's like, because snapshots and slide casting aren't technically, game mechanics are actually server ticks and certain, like, technically bugs of the game, but we've been so accustomed to them, they're now parts of mechanics and raids. And I think also Xeno fucking talked about this at some point, maybe Arthas, I don't remember which one of them. But I kind of agree with the point that the game, it would do the game a lot of fucking good if they just shut it down or just do no updates for a year. They would just come out and say, look, we're not gonna do fucking anything between these expansions, between Dawn Trail and the next expansion. For a whole fucking year, we're not gonna do or upgrade anything. We're just gonna spend a whole year literally developing and fixing the code and adjusting it for future development. Making it more accessible and more expandable so we can actually include cool content that we know people would love. That's my opinion. They need to shut down the game. Not even shut down. Keep it live. They need to make some money. But like, just straight up say, like, for a year, we're gonna do fucking nothing with the game for a whole year, maybe longer, like a year and a couple of months. And we're just gonna be fixing all the netcode and the servers, so people can do cross server, like cross region travel, etc. Like maybe some people could do party finder cross data center. That would be really cool. Like, I would be willing to literally stay subbed and wait for a whole year just for them to start fixing some of these things.
Then you got the problem, this is specific to engineering, but people want to be able to use the bridge. So we have to build a new bridge somewhere else and then bring it in. And this is a bridge example of spaghetti code, right? Was it wrong for the engineer to design it only to support 2 lanes in the beginning? No. That was sensible, and it made it cost efficient and time efficient to build. Was it wrong for the clients to be like, yo, we only want one lane in the beginning and then change it down the line? It's like, no, also not their fault, because
It's like, no, it's nobody's fault for having certain reasonable expectations, and then once it's actually doing good and people want more of it, to try to expand it. Like, nobody's wrong in the situation. Like, let's be honest, nobody's at fault. Not even the devs that developed the spaghetti code back in 2011. They could have done a better fucking job. But at the time, if people even saw the documentary about Realm Reborn from NoClip, there were like there were problems way worse than the spaghetti code. A lot of other things they had to fix, like add the jump function, remove the stamina function, as if it's a fucking gacha game. But yeah, it's like, it's no one's fault, but it's like, unfortunately the game became fucking popular. Unfortunately, people want to play this game, and unfortunately, Square Enix have to somehow keep up with supporting the game and still like providing content for it while there is a demand for it.
because requirements do change naturally over time. They couldn't expect that the bridge would be so busy over the years.
Mm.
But you still have this horrible mess of a bridge. And this is the same thing with spaghetti code, right? Of you can have a reasonable, well thought out system in the beginning, but with 14 and just generally speaking, any live service or project that gets updated over time and new features get added, you start to accumulate this spaghetti code, right? You start to accumulate this code that
Unless it's Suicide Squad kills the Justice League, then it's dead from launch. Then it's dead from launch. Server side, everything had to be fixed. Technical depth is one hell of a depth. It's not really technical depth because they're not exactly developing new things. Everything that's in the game, it's just a variation of the same thing. We're not exactly getting super magnificent new fucking, tech in the game. Maybe some here and there, but it's like, at the moment, we're not exactly doing anything out of ordinary. Like, find a mechanic in any fight that wasn't done in a fight a couple of tiers before. Like, you can practically find just take one rating tier from one expansion and another rating tier from the other one, and just start just matching mechanics. Oh, healer stacks healer stacks here. Here you gotta dodge the cleave of half a read. Cool, neato. Oh golly, we need to bait something and then dodge it. We need to do a 3-to-1. Believe it or not, there might be some technical depth, but 14 has not developed enough of it to that be specifically a problem. They've been mainly just fixing problems. They haven't exactly developed the technical depth. I wish they would. At least we would have some more fun to kind of rant about, but yeah.
was originally designed just to do this, but has been kind of retrofitted to do a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and then you get into kind of like breaking point.
I cannot wait for the fucking mobile MMO to also kind of meet this kind of issue in like a good 6 to 7 years. Because people's phone tech is also going to change. Requirements are going to change. The way it works online is going to change. Oh boy.
And also the problem with FF14 is people don't like the idea of stuff not happening, right? The fix to spaghetti code is to not make any meaningful progress for a long time, right? The fix is to just tear down the code, refactor it, rebuild it, but none of that adds new features to the game. None of that. That is just time spent purely on actually improving the code quality, and players are like, why aren't they fixing the game? Why?
That has been like my tinfoil hat theory for a while. Because we had such a dead 8 months of Dawn Trail, I had a fear that maybe that's what they're doing. Because if anything, every time they bring out any patch, it always comes with like this book-long list of quality of life additions. They might have just added them for shits and giggles, but they might also been cleaning up the code and seeing what else they can actually add to kind of solidify it and improve it. Because we definitely didn't have a lot of stuff that we got this expansion, like the graphical update. Believe it or not, make it a whole graphical overhaul for a fucking MMO that actually extends across multiple expansions and not just, in the latest one. Fucking that is a ginormous fucking achievement. It wasn't an eventuality because they technically still have to kind of apply this game to fucking future PlayStation releases, but it's still a technical fucking wonder that they managed to do it.
And they're improving the game. It's like, because it can take months of refactoring before you're actually ready to add new features again. Right? But I also think that people blame Spaghetti Code a little bit too much on 14. I think there's...
I died to the autos and the tank buster, and I didn't actually stand in the AoE. It's just Spaghetti Code, server ticks, Blizzard, Activision.
This is one of those things where it's like, it's a Yoshi P quote from the past, and it's kind of like, it's become a community thing to constantly refer to as Spaghetti Code. It's like, no, it's not necessarily Spaghetti Code. Adding new features to any project is a pain, right? Any project is going to require some kind of refactoring or cleanup at some point in time. So many people have this idea like, oh, you can just add a new feature. Like, no, how does that integrate with all the existing stuff? How do we make this work? Does that...
They added the blacklist. Look where we are right now. They gotta keep... Like, they really need to send so many features through Greenlight for them to actually be able to release some of this stuff. But some of the stuff will also be abused. Because the players are not fucking behaving.
Our code base already have the foundations to support that? No, well, because we didn't think we were going to need that in the first place. So that's what I'm saying. Some things in FF14 are going to take a lot more effort than people assume, but that's not necessarily going to be because of Spaghetti Code. That's just programming in general. That's just engineering in general. So
they're not necessarily fixing things as well, mind you. I want you guys to remember. There was a live letter one time when Yoshi P actually was talking about them improving the code and fixing certain bugs related to housing. And he immediately prefaced hey guys, we also know that you use a lot of these bugs and a lot of these glitches specifically for housing projects, and we don't want you to lose your, projects that you use passion and everything, because we can't exactly make a coherent design system. But if we do something that fixes any of these glitches and bugs that let you do amazing housing projects, let us know, and we will revert that fix back. So they are aware how buggy and glitchy the game can be. But they also need to... They're constantly playing the whole dodge game between fixing the game, improving the quality without taking shit away from players. Same with the blacklist right now. They gotta figure out how to fix it. They cannot take it away. They're not that kind of developer where they're gonna give us toys and then take it away. Maybe someday, unless if it's very drastic, but so many people have started using the blacklist. Well, I say started, but they started using it more actively and a bit more confidently. They can't exactly, revert that change because that's going to affect a lot of fucking things that people have already done with the function.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to explain that using this example of terms. Sometimes stuff just takes time. There's a really good old quote as well, talking about oh, the manpower, they need to hire more people, right?
That's not how that works.
There's a thing called Brooks Law, which kind of talks about how hiring more people can make a project take longer sometimes. Because you need to train those people up, and while you're training them, you're actually taking resources away from the existing staff.
That is, he is correct in that regard. A lot of places I worked at specifically function in a similar way, and chances are, people you're training up might end up just not fitting for the job they were meant for. They might be positioned somewhere else. That works in jobs or even in statics. You pick up someone who's supposed to be a warrior main, but they end up performing very poorly. That means the static isn't exactly going to work. Yeah. You gotta figure out if the person actually fit, if you can actually give them enough time and practice to vibe check and to actually fit with the group and to actually improve on whatever class or job they're playing. Or just, chances are they might be booted or put somewhere else, you know? Just because there's more statics doesn't mean the content is going to be cleared faster.
If I had to hire someone right now to help me work on my website, I would need to spend a lot of my time training them and helping them and getting them set up with how my website works and all that stuff. And during that time, they're not contributing that high of quality code. I'm committing less code because I'm helping them.
Can you imagine? Especially when working on an MMO of an old engine from like Final Fantasy 13 days. Because the 14 is based on the Final Fantasy 13 engine, right? Can you imagine? Like it's an engine they scrapped already. It's done. It's not coming back. And can you imagine someone coming in just to work on the out of passion for 14, and they gotta learn this piece of shit ancient engine, and then also get to know fucking fucking 6 expansions worth of fucking code? Like, they're gonna fucking hate it there. Because, like, they either need to start working immediately, or they gotta be acquainted fast enough, or half and half, but they're gonna contribute something very low quality.
And they may even be setting things back because
chances are that intern was responsible for the hats for VRs and quad cars.
they are introducing bugs to the system that then I have to fix. That's part of Brook's law, where it's like sometimes adding more workers, they've got a ramp up time, essentially, before they become productive. And that can be like 6 months, right? That can be a year before a software engineer is properly productive, depending on the kind of project. And then you also got the other part of Brook's law, which I really like to mention a whole bunch of times, because so many people are like, just throw money at the problem, right?
It does not work like that. It just does not work like that.
And that's, it's the quote, 9 women can't make your baby in a month, right?
That's true. They can make 9 babies in 9 months, and then there's even more work to fucking raise those babies.
Sometimes you can't just throw more people at a problem and solve it faster. Sometimes things just take time. So, anyway.
The shakiness of this puppet is like a bit unsettling. It's like he's on a sugar high. He's constantly shaking.
Yeah. Short little rant video. Wanted to get some... I wanted to air my mind on spaghetti code. Yeah. Alright. See ya.
I think this was a really good video. Like, I wish more of the programmers and developers... Like, I have basic understanding and knowledge. I have enough knowledge that I can kind of read into certain functions or at least imagine how things could have been done. I'm not always right. Only most of the time. Haha. But I wish like more like developers within the scene would kind of speak up or make videos about this. It would be kind of like a bit more... It would make people not like more tolerant toward the spaghetti code, but it would at least make them more open-minded to certain issues and less panicky. Like right now, like, oh no, the blacklist can tell other people your retainer names and your alt names. That's it. But everyone's blowing it out of proportions, making whole fucking videos about we deserve better, they should do better, we deserve a better response in the forums. How fucking dare they, like, a whole fucking drama train. Like, I understand that people are worried that this can be potentially a very dangerous fucking thing. I get that. I genuinely do. Is people worried that if this is how they're gonna do, they might go further. If they could, they would have already. But okay, let me put it into a bit more perspective, right? So in 14 we have this something that we refer to as the stalker add-on, right? Which by finding out a character's name, it's been put into a weird fucking database, and people find out your retainer names and your alts. Other than stalking, it's not really doing anything. Like, I understand that I'm downplaying the situation. Some people are worried, but realistically, let's sit down, deep breaths, have some fucking water. What's gonna happen? So I know we've seen situations. One dude came up to the other dude and said, "Hey, why are you doing this? Stop undercutting." You know what you know what you can do? Walk the fuck away. You can use the same blacklist they used to find you to blacklist. You can just, put down the fucking phone. I'm just saying, it's like, if your day is gonna be ruined because of the like one small interaction in a fucking MMO, I'm just saying you might need to pick up something a bit more lighthearted. Same with if people know your alts. Unless you're doing some really weird or shady shit. Selling clears. I don't know. European with Bulgarian men in your free time. I don't fucking know. Whatever you want to do. Unless you're doing shady shit, it's like, who fucking cares if you have alts? Like, people who are worried about their alt being found out are probably shady themselves. To stalk you, just even stalk your alt. Okay, so they will find the name of your alt. What are they gonna do? Wait for it to come online when you're not playing your main? To find where you are, they also need to add you to their friends list. You're gonna recognize their name and just not add them. They're either gonna go a whole fucking rigmarole of like this an obstacle course just to stalk you, which they would have done even without the help of the plugin if they're fucking this dedicated, or it's not that fucking big of a deal. Like, let me even put it in a bigger perspective, right? World of Warcraft, right? We always compare 14 to World of Warcraft. In World of Warcraft, there's currently an add-on. You add someone's name, the moment they queue up for battlegrounds or arena, it will notify you. The moment your window pops up to tell you, hey, your queue is up, you either accept or withdraw, that add-on will tell you that that person is queued up and is matched against you right now. That is a fucking stalker plugin. That is an add-on in a very add-on competitive scene in World of Warcraft. Now that is a stalker add-on. There, you are stalking someone to see if you're matched against them or with them in fucking PvP. And I want you to understand, this is not a one thing, it's not a two thing, it's people literally complaining about just like someone dropped the queue for you to go into Battlegrounds for a good half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. People have been memeing about this, but it's a real fucking thing. Now that is a stalker fucking add-on. And I will also want you to understand, like, just by comparison, in World of Warcraft, add-ons are very much more rampant. They create functions, they create UI, they create in-game assets for you to use on screen through add-ons. There's like multiple codes you can use. There's Lua and some of the other ones. I think either C sharp or just, I think it's C sharp. I don't fucking remember, honest. Or Java. And people have been making various things. None of them were able to get to any important information about any person, because that's how fucking business is made. For a launch of a game, that shit needs to be greenlit by government fucking sent out engineers to see if people can actually get your information. Your information is safe, your bank details are going to be safe, unless you don't have two-factor authentication and you've shared your account, or you're being stupid, or you click on random links on Discord. Unless you're not being careful, you should be fucking fine. And add a plugin inside the game is not gonna do shit. But yeah, like this was a really good video, and I felt like I needed to kind of rant about this for a bit as well. But yeah, good video.